Hey friends, welcome back in my kitchen. If you're new here, hi, my name is Lynn. Today we are prepping for a Easter brunch. We will be making deviled eggs, if I pronounce it correctly, a salmon spread, and I will be prepping crescent rolls as well as some normal croissants, so they are ready to be baked off tomorrow morning. Here in the Netherlands we have two Easter days, so the first Easter day and the second Easter day. I don't know if that's any different in other countries, but just for context, today is the first Easter day on Sunday, and tomorrow on Monday we are having a brunch, so we are prepping for that now. I first want to get my eggs boiling, because they need to be cooled off before we can turn them into deviled eggs. I've had them laid upside down for a couple minutes now, just so hopefully the yolk can sink into the middle of the egg. That will help us while preparing the deviled eggs. So that's going. Then I want to start on the crescent rolls. For that we need a tube of crescent dough, some cream cheese. Now I did want to get the natural or the cream cheese without any additional flavor. However, my dad accidentally got this one, so we will just use it and see if it works. The recipe calls for some breakfast sausage. However, here in the Netherlands we don't have that type of sausage, so I'm just using something similar. Then as well, a bit of a red bell pepper and some green onion. That's what we are working with for the crescent rolls. Okay, meanwhile our water is boiling. What I like to do is take a spoon and slowly but surely let the eggs sink into the water, just to try and prevent them from cracking. That's one. I want to use 6 eggs for the deviled eggs. We are only with like 4 people tomorrow, so we don't need that much of each recipe. But that's okay, because I'm just using this basically to gain experience. That's 4, 5, 6. We need these eggs to be hard boiled, so no raw in the middle at all. So I will be boiling these for 10 minutes, since they are not really huge eggs, they are kind of average size. Okay, those are going, timer's going. Now for the crescent rolls, I need a skillet, and I think this will do. Then we will add our sausage in there and mash it all up so it turns like into small pieces, and cook it until there's no pink left. The recipe calls for about 150 grams of sausage, or like, I think that's half a recipe. No, let me check. A third of a recipe calls for 150 pounds of sausage. So like the entire recipe would be a pound, which is the equivalent of 450 grams. So we are doing a third of a recipe, so that would be 150 grams. But I am using a little bit more than that, just because I would prefer to have more rather than less. So that is what we have going here. Just gonna mash this all up. While that is cooking, I am going to chop up part of a red bell pepper and a green onion. To add the bell pepper to the sausage. and cook it until tender. That is the timer for our eggs. So I'm going to take these off the heat and cool them down under some cold water. Okay, the sausage and peppers are cooked all the way through. I have turned off the heat, so all of the heat that's left is what we are going to use to cook the leftover ingredients. We are going to add in our spring or green onion, whatever you want to call it, and about 75 grams of cream cheese. Again, this is a cream cheese with some flavor to it, so it has herbs and garlic added to it. It's not a plain cream cheese, which I would have preferred for this recipe, but this is just what we are working with. I would rather add a bit too much than not enough, so add a little bit more, and this is going to cool down the mixture but also heat up the cream cheese enough to melt into the mixture. And this is the mixture for our crescent rolls. I would have preferred the bell pepper to be cut a bit smaller or diced a bit smaller. But yeah, I did not notice that in time. So this is just what we are working with, and we are gaining experience. Okay, we've got our roll of crescent dough right here. This is my first time working with this kind of stuff, so this is going to be interesting. It was already interesting to open up the package, so give me a minute while I figure this out. I think this is where you're supposed to open it up. Yeah, I think it is. It's opening up. And it's sticking to my hands. I also have no idea whether I should flour up the counter for this. I'm just going to unroll this on the counter, I guess. See how that goes. That works, kind of. Okay. That is our sheets. Perfect. Well, perfect is maybe a bit different, but this is perfect to me. Positivity, you guys, positivity. I'm going to smoosh these edges together so they don't open up while baking or something. Let's separate these two as well. Pinch that closed. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now I'm just going to use a spoon to spread the mixture over our crescent rolls. I know this is using a metal spoon in a non-stick skillet, but I'm being very careful not to damage it. Now I am leaving the sides on the top and the bottom clear, just so hopefully they will stick a bit better and close up. Okay, let's see if we can roll this up. This seems to work pretty well even without flour on the counter. Okay, this one is kind of opening up slightly, but I guess that's fine. There we go, perfect. Now I want to try and cut these up into smaller pieces. Start by dividing them in half. Okay, this is kind of difficult. Perhaps it would be easier if they were colder. Next time I might try and flash freezing them first for like 10 minutes or something. Like that. That works. Perfect. How many mosquitoes? Okay, there they are. They look beautiful, if I may say so myself. I am confident that this will be tasty. This baking sheet fits 18 of these rolls perfectly, and we will just bake them off tomorrow and see if it works out. Now for the croissants, I don't have another baking sheet, so I'm just going to use a rack like this, put 2 layers of baking paper on it and use this as a baking sheet. Now I want to try rolling these, which is again a first for me. But I guess this is just what you do. And then you put an egg wash on, which we will do tomorrow morning before we start baking them off. And then we will also put an egg wash, I've decided, on the crescent rolls. It's not in the recipe, but I will put it on there just to make it a bit more golden brown, I guess. And hopefully this works out. This is my first time making croissants, so I hope they are tasty, because croissants can't be missing from a Easter brunch in my opinion. Okay. I can tell that this is the last one, this is the first one. Is it just me, or like this one is actually like nice. Okay. Let's get the rack over here, put some baking paper on it, transfer these croissants onto the baking paper, and that's it for those recipes. Okay, I've got 2 sheets of baking paper, and yes, this rack is turned upside down, and I will show you in a second why, because this is the only way it will fit into the fridge, and then tomorrow I will just pick up the baking paper, flip around the rack, and then put it back on. And that's how it will work for us. Okay, there we go. I will put the egg wash on tomorrow before we bake them off, and I will show you how this fits into our fridge. Okay, look at this. So we have 2 baking sheets here. And then the bottom one are the crescent rolls. And then this baking sheet fits perfectly on top. And then there are our croissants. So tomorrow I will just take this out, flip this over, put the egg wash on, bake them off, and they are all ready. Now that's done, we are moving on with our eggs. I will show you what we are working with. So we've got our eggs, some paper towels to catch all the peelings. We will put the insides, so the egg yolks, in here. And then the egg whites we will leave on this plate. I like to rinse off the eggs just to make sure there's absolutely no shell left on them, like not even tiny little specks, which I think the camera won't even pick up. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. The way I like to do it, or always have done it basically, is just cut it the short way. So this is the long way of the egg and this is the short way. So that's what I would like to do usually, and then just scoop out the egg yolks for our filling. And then that's what you're left with. Then you can cut the ends like a tiny bit so they stay upright. But I want to try something new today. And this is just for my family, so it doesn't really matter whether they are all uniform. So that's why I just showed you. What I saw recently online is people were cutting it this way and then not cutting it all the way through, but just applying light pressure, and that's supposed to only cut the egg whites and leaves the egg yolk intact, like that. I suppose just like with an avocado. So that's what I want to try today. Now this is kind of thin, you can almost see through it. So I'm not gonna cut the bottom there. It will stay upright by its own, but this one is a little bit thicker, so I will have it upright a bit more, like that. And that's what I will do to all the eggs. Okay, those are our deviled eggs ready to be filled. And we are ready to make the filling. I do like how these balls are like still intact, the entire egg yolks. And also, what I've noticed, usually 1 or 2 eggs would like turn out too beat up to be made into nice cups, so those end up in the filling. But with this time and this method, I guess, all of them stayed whole and I could use as a cup. So hopefully there's enough filling. I will show you what I put into my filling. Now, I don't really follow a recipe. I just use what I have found over the years in different recipes and put it all together into my own kind of thing. It's very minimalistic. There's not much to it. So what I use, like basically every recipe for deviled eggs, mayonnaise, mayo something, this stuff. I put some salt and pepper to taste and some curry powder. Then for garnish I put a little bit of paprika on the top for color, as well as some chives for color. So put those to the side for now. And all of this is just, there's no measurement to it. I just put whatever I feel like is right, then I taste it. And if it needs some more something, I will put more of that thing in it. And we will blend this up. Now, I don't think this will be enough filling for all of the eggs, since all of the egg whites were whole still. So I will pick out 1 or 2 cups that are the weakest, I guess. And we can use those to make more filling. That's about the texture I'm going for. Let's have a little taste. I'm just going to add a little bit of mayonnaise and then just a little bit more of curry powder. Blend it up again. And there we go. A lot smoother. I forgot to get piping bags, so this is just 2 layers of sandwich bags, and we will see how that works and if this works well. Just folding it over my hand, like so, and then we can fill it up. There we go. Cut a little hole on the end. There we go. Now, of course, this is not as aesthetic as it would have been with a proper piping bag and a piping mouth, of course. But it will not matter for the taste, of course. So it's fine. Perfect. Those are done. Let's garnish them with a little bit of paprika and some chives. Beautiful. And those are our deviled eggs done. Okay, the last recipe we will be working on is a salmon spread. I have rinsed out our stick blender. It's clean enough now to use again. For the salmon spread we will need 100 grams of smoked salmon, some mayonnaise, a bit of cream cheese again, and again for this recipe I was supposed to use a unflavored cream cheese, however this is all we're working with today. Half a lemon, a clove of garlic and some dill. So I will just, it's as simple as sticking everything into the container, blending it up, and that should be it. But of course this is my first time making it, so I will be tasting it and adding to it as needed. Okay, so we've got about 100 grams of salmon, then we add about 100 grams of cream cheese, a clove of garlic, the juice of 1 lemon, and I am keeping an eye out for any seeds, 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, and the recipe calls for a handful of dill. Now I don't know what amount is supposed to be a handful, so I'm just going to add a little bit at a time, taste it and see if it is right. And I am going to leave out the bulk of the stems. Okay, let's blend this up and see what we get. Give that a bit of a taste. Oh, that's good. That's very good. I do think I can add a bit more dill, so I will do that. I am setting it out of the frame just because I need to rest this against something so it doesn't fall over. Let's just add a bit more of this stuff. And then I also want to add a bit of this on top in a second to add some garnish. Blend this up, give that a taste. I really like this. One more adjustment. I'm going to add just a little bit more lemon juice and again a little bit more dill, and I think that's what we're going with. Last and final taste. Yes, this is so tasty, you guys, you gotta try it. Let's plate this up. There we go, that is our salmon spread, looking all nice. Now add a tiny bit of dill as a garnish, and that's done. I will put a piece of foil over this and set it in the fridge. Okay guys, that's it for today. I believe this was a very productive afternoon. I have made 18 crescent rolls, some croissants ready to be baked off tomorrow morning for brunch. I have made deviled eggs and a salmon spread. So tomorrow everything will be ready to grab, and we will add some juiced oranges to it. We will also bake off some different kinds of pre-made bread, and we will set the table and I will show you that footage. And I am very happy with what we accomplished today. The next morning we just had to finish some stuff off before we could dig in. I started with the egg wash for the croissants and the crescent rolls, and I quickly found out that we don't have a proper brush to do this, so I had to improvise. I ended up using the back of a teaspoon instead, which is fine, but a brush would have been easier, quicker and more even. But with or without a brush, they did turn out beautiful, if I may say so myself. Meanwhile, my dad was juicing the oranges and he had something to say.
want to apologize for the low-tech
For low-tech.
fruit press, juice press.
Oh, the low-tech juicer.
Never mind.
Never mind.
By now the croissants and the crescent rolls had been in the oven for a while, so I went to check on them. They did look beautiful, but when feeling them, we could tell that they were not done yet, so they went back into the oven to continue baking for a little while longer. And a few minutes later, they were perfect. Also, my mom decided to accidentally stumble into a close-up. I just had to leave this shot in the video. To see whether the crescent rolls were done, we used a thermometer. After the second measurements, they were ready. The crescent rolls turned out very tasty, by the way. They were everyone's favorites.
Ja, we call it quits? We call it quits.
Wel gokken.
Look at this! Hey. Okay,
Yummy, yummy!
ja! Mijn god.
And last but not least, here is a shot of the table all set and ready. Of course, the battery of my camera had to die just before this last shot, so I used my phone. Please excuse the crappy quality. The deviled eggs turned out tasty like they always do, and when it comes to the salmon spread, my parents did like it but found it a bit sour, and I could agree with that, so next time I would not add the extra lemon and just stick with half a lemon. That being said, I know by the time this video is going up, Easter is long gone, but I hope all of you had a nice Easter. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye friends!